let's just jump right into it. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So, when it says the earth was without form and the void, we can extrapolate that the Big Bang was related. There was an emptiness, and then suddenly things began. And so, into the next passage is, and God said, "Let there be light." Now, the first things to form were stars, and those were the hypothetical light of the universe. And God saw the light and said it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. Now, you can see that in the distance between stars, that's a lot. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, so first thing to happen was light in any aspect. The first thing anything created saw was light. Because otherwise all they would have seen is a void. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Now, this is at the point where the world began to create lands, dividing the waters from the waters, and divide the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and so it was. Now this brings me to the conclusion of like salt and non-salted water being separated for some reason. And God called the firmament. Oh, I see. It's in the next passage. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven gather together onto one place, and let the dry land appear," and so it was. And God called the dry land the earth, and gathered together of the waters he called waters, called he seas. And God saw that it was good. Okay, so this is going into the separation of land and sea. God said, "Let the earth bring form grass, herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, those whose seed in itself upon the earth," and so it was. So at this point, it's led me to under previous speculation that the seeds of the earth were the single cell organisms, and those bring forth the grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit yielding fruit of his kind. Those seed in itself upon the earth, and so it was. So, fun fact about that is one of the very first multicellular or really plant organism was a mushroom. So that was like one of the very first plantings. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Just did that one. And the evening and the morning were the third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years. That is just simply the passage of time, uh, scientifically speaking. Uh, the amount of days it could have taken then is paramount compared to now because of the expansion of the universe leading to expansion of the length in time. We can realize that even through ourselves and see how time passages differently from when we were children to growing. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven and give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two. Well, let's go back to that one. So at the beginning of the earth, we were completely and utterly surrounded by volcanic ash. And eventually that had to dissipate, and so the heavens could give light onto the earth. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. So that it's obviously referencing to day and night rules of the moon and the sun, but I think there's a little more to that. Not quite sure at what point the moon had begun to develop, probably much later in development into the earth, but I would have to do a little more research on that. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens and to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. Not much to be placed there. And the evening and the morning were fourth day. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth, and open firmament of the heaven. So that is moving forward in evolution towards flying creatures and abundantly moving creatures that have taken life, so multicellular organisms of a larger size, something that could actually be considered a creature. God created great whales and every living creature that hath moved, which the waters brought forth abundantly. Now, I'll stop that right there, 21 in Genesis. The waters brought forth abundantly the creatures that moved. That was the birthplace of single cellular organisms, is in the waters. They would feed off of the chemical oozes from volcanic movement, and that is essentially the very start of when evolution began. With abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl of his kind, and God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the sea, and let a fowl multiply on the earth. That very may well be referencing towards mammals beginning to no longer lay eggs and then to just give birth to a infant. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Alright, we're moving past the fifth, or going on to the fifth day. God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creature after his kind, cattle, creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind." And it was so. God made the beast of the earth after his kind, the cattle. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have domination over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and all over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Now, at this point, we have quite a bit of more proof that man has been around much, much longer than we realize. Very long time. Millions and millions of years we've had our form. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he, him, male and female created he them. God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be faithful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it. Have domination over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Now, that just tells me that as omnivores, we are free to scour wherever we like for food, and do as we must. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, and upon the face of all earth every tree. God said, Beholdeth, I have given unto you every herb bearing seed, which upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is fruitful of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God said, Everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Chapter 2, Genesis 1:4. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work in which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it had rested from all his work which God had created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth, which they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. That's more of a reference towards rain, and how it can and bring a higher yield towards your fields. Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Out of the ground the Lord God grew every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food. The tree of life is in the midst of the garden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. river went out of Eden. Water went out of Eden to the garden, and fruit from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. I'm not quite sure what that is a reference to. Really not. Name of the first. Oh, okay. The name of the first is Poseidon, that which compasseth the whole land of Hyvial, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There be bdellium and onyx stone. And the onyx stone. I have to look into the onyx stone. And the name of the second river, Gihon. The same is that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that which groweth toward the east of Azria. And the fourth river of the fourth and the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. This may very well be into reference of the beginning of evolution into becoming man. It would have taken a very lustrous and beautiful place of quite abundance when it comes to plants and animals and just these things that are necessary for a continuation in evolution. But essentially it's getting at that we were its keepers. We were to dress Eden. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. We know which one that's not allowed with. And when it comes to forbidden fruits, I do have a theory on that. And it comes down to the high ape theory when it comes to eating mushrooms and receiving neurogenesis in the brain, allowing for complex thoughts, allowing empathy, allowing courage, allowing so many things, and fear is included. So it is something that can give insight into both sides of the spectrum. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat from it. For in the day that thou eatest, therefore thou shalt surely die. Now, obviously we didn't, but the creature that we were has. Like every evolution of stages in humanity has died. There's only so many that are still considerably here. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him. For a little mention, I think this is a theory, or maybe not even a theory, a hypothesis. It's that old question, who came first, the chicken or the egg? But if man came first, then woman came after. Was it the man who had reached the level of evolution, or had reached those levels of genes that truly allowed him to become man, the very first man. Something to consider. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them into Adam to see what he would call them. Whatsoever called every creature, that was its name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, to all fowl of the air, and every beast of the field. For Adam therefore was not found a helper to meet for him. And a lot, that's a pretty good place to put in. We can't crossbreed. We can't cross with other species, obviously. But the helpmeet for him would have to be as in reference to that which replenish or reproduce plentifully is one of the prior passages. And the Lord God caused deep sleep unto Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, closed up the flesh instead therefore. The rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. This could have been we've seen different kinds of breeding in different species where their genetics are close enough to just make it happen. And it would have been a work of God to bring man and woman together. Obviously, it's very well true because we do have a missing rib in comparison. And Adam said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, or flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." That may be indicative of speech patterns then. Therefore shall be a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Okay. Now that is more indicative of people who still live with their parents, and simply because they have yet to meet a wife or to become one flesh with someone. So it's a bit of a slippery slope on that one. And they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed. See, this is before knowledge of sin, chapter 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but not of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. God hath said, Ye shall not eat from it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Now, this is indicative of animalistic choice. So, whenever things become self-aware and they begin to, and lest ye die. Okay, so it is important to think that there was a choice being placed in front of us, and then temptation to challenge that. That was the freedom of choice being given onto us. And the reason we haven't died and we're not considered an abomination is because God had made the choice to give us choice in His image. So, obviously, at this point, that is being tested. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the days of ye thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when women saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit, therefore did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Surely that could have been indicative of mushrooms being in abundance at that time, and especially the psychedelic kind. They had quite the abundance to them, and to have something that was abundant for food in the garden was obviously not scarce, but to try that of which would give wisdom is something that would be more enticing. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. At this point, it's like just enlightenment, and at that point, knowledge had been brought onto them, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hide themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam, and he said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I hear thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree? Therefore I command thee, thou shouldest eat. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me giveth me of the tree I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, I did eat. That just makes me... That could have been a reference to addiction. Begilded. Was begilded onto it. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field, upon thy belly shalt go, and shalt eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. I'm not sure what to make that passage. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. That's really just a placement of gender roles. But it's really, when the woman is in charge, no one is happy, not even them. And that command is pretty well placed, especially because it was her who brought the fruit. Unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, in sorrow shalt eat of it all the days of thy life. Could have a reference to eating disorder, or just being cursed to rely on that, the earth for food, and continual of the cycles of life. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread until thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, unto dust thou shalt return. The beginning of deaths. That's what my interpretation is. It's just the beginning of deaths, because we very may well have been perfect and lived a very long time, but we have to now eat of the cursed grounds until we return to dust and our age reduces. Now, going back to the passage of time back then was probably much more compacted. I'm not sure how that would compare to now, how we consider our lives in length. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothed them. Beginnings of civilization, very may well. The stereotypical caveman has like some kind of cloth and skinned cloak. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is becoming as one of us, to know good and evil, and now lest he be forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Alright. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden, Cherubim, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So he drove out man, and he placed at the east of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. It is speculated that there was an angel placed at the front with a flaming sword that cuts and purges. Alright, I'm gonna end it off there. I am at chapter 4 now. I can continue with a part 2, I just need a little support. Alright, Thank you guys. Later.